Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is, what is it? Tuesday. Yeah. All of today's guests, including Ian Furness, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Book your next corporate or private event at the Bayside in Parksville, whether it's a small, intimate event or a large gathering of up to 100. The Bayside is ready to accommodate, offering full setup, including bar service and staffing. Who wrote this? As well as business essentials to make your event seamless. Choose from their extensive banquet menu created by their talented chef with focus on fresh seasonal ingredients. They have a heck of a conductor there as well. The Bayside, call 250-248-8333 or visit BaysideResortParksville.com. Dwight Delaney's OK Tire and Lang in the inbox just before Ian saw Earth, Wind, and Fire in 1980 at the Coliseum, one of the best concerts ever. Boogie Wonderland blew the roof off. Going into a segment today, we have to play some Earth, Wind, and Fire. I like Lionel Richie too, but Earth, Wind, and Fire, oh yeah.
Good stuff.
I know Ian Furness would agree from KJR Sports and Fox Sports. How are you, sir?
Good. Commodores fan back in the day. O'Day High School, class of 83. Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah, and we forget about Lionel Richie being in a band before he went solo. And, of course, who can forget the hit Brick House? By the Commodores.
Who could forget it?
Yeah.
Anybody not our age.
Yeah. Seahawks laid a brick. 30-13, they lose to the Rams. Any chance you saw that result coming in?
I mean, only in the sense it's week one in the NFL, and you know what we saw in the week. I mean, Josh Allen looked like the worst quarterback in the league last night. So stuff happens, but no, I mean that was Sean McVay's 9-5 now against Pete Carroll. So I guess there's some warning signs. The Rams always play Seattle tough, et cetera, et cetera. I just didn't think they'd come out and play as poorly as they did. Seattle was they were awful on both sides of the football. There was nothing positive to take from that game. Nothing stood out. A lot will be made about the tackles got banged up. Their problem started well before that offensively. And then defensively, they just couldn't stop Matt Stafford. I mean, they did a decent job against the run, but I think those numbers are even, a little bit exaggerated because they didn't need to run the ball. Their passing game, short, long, intermediate, whatever, was working so well. So it was, you chalk it up to week one, and now, unfortunately for the Seahawks, they have a heck of a week two assignment going to Detroit where, dare I say it, will be a frenzied atmosphere.
What happened to Seattle's offense? You touched on it a bit there, Ian, but what happened to the offense in the second half? 12 yards total offense, and if I'm not mistaken, 9 of those yards in garbage time.
Yeah, and they had 32 net yards, Donnie, after their first 2 drives of the game. 32 net, and I think that was 7 more drives after that. They netted 32 total yards. I thought Geno looked awful. He looked uncomfortable. He looked tentative. Didn't trust his throws, didn't trust his receivers, didn't trust his line, and he wasn't under duress. We've seen quarterbacks under duress. Russell Wilson will tell you that for sure here in Seattle. It just was it's a cop out, but I'll chalk it up to week one. Weird things happen in the NFL in week one, and things happen sometimes that you just don't see coming. All the things you thought you saw in training camp, and maybe even to a certain extent the preseason. None of those things took place, but there's 16 other teams in the league that are probably thinking the same thing today. I mean, look at Cincinnati. I mean, they get their doors blown off by Cleveland, and they're not even in that game. So I'm not sure. I want to see more from Geno. I guess the one concern, if you're Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, you would have, and this is probably why they signed him to a 1-year contract. Well, a contract that they can get out of after 1 year without any salary cap issues. Is because maybe there is a concern that Geno is going to remember that, hey, I'm Geno Smith. And not last year's Geno Smith, but the Geno Smith from the decade before.
Hey, Ian, Stafford had all day. He had all day to do what he wanted. How do you improve that D-line?
I don't know, man. Rick, I don't know how you can, because first of all, that's not a good offensive line the Rams have. It just isn't. It's in fact, they went to their backup left tackle at one point. I think the other guy I haven't seen got banged up, but Noteboom, I guess, one of those two guys. But they you would expect, I saw a stat. This is where analytics, listen, let's go off on a tangent here for a second, because I know you guys well. I listen. Here's where the analytics sometimes don't make sense. ESPN does some sort of analytics site, StatCast or whatever it might be. And they rank the top 10 players in terms of defensive rush win rate. So winning in a pass rush in week 1. And Boye Mafe and Darrell Taylor from the Seahawks were both in the top 10. Now, I don't know about you guys. Rick, when you asked that question, I'm thinking that you didn't see that. I sure as heck didn't see that. But hey, the analytics tell us this. So I just thought that they couldn't get home. Stafford does a great job of getting the ball out quickly, but that's no excuse. They went to kind of a 4-man front. They rushed 3 oftentimes and dropped 8 into coverage. That didn't work. But when you rush 3 against 5, it's going to be hard to get home as well. And now you go against Jared Goff and a far better, if not the best offensive line in the NFL, one of the best. So unless somebody picks it up quickly, I don't know how it does get better.
All right, the Mariners fall out of the final AL wildcard spot last night with a loss. What's going on there? Are they going to make it?
Well, I have a buddy of mine, Nathan Bishop, speaking of analytics. He's kind of a baseball analytics nerd, but I love him. He comes on our show. We do a thing every Monday called Mollywop Monday. And Nathan had a great tweet last week and a great thought, and I think this is true. Seattle is built, the Mariners that is, they're built for the postseason. They're 3 pitchers deep. They're and then all of a sudden you can take a couple of the other guys that you don't want to eat up innings, the young guys like a Bryce Miller, maybe a Woo, what have you, and you can compact that into the bullpen. And all of a sudden your bullpen's stronger, your 3 guys rotation stronger. Some of the flaws in your lineup aren't as obvious. They're built for a 3, 5, or 7 game playoff series. They're probably not built for 162, and we're starting to see that. They're starting to falter a little bit. The pitching hasn't been as good. Gilbert gave up some early runs yesterday. The bullpen, I think, is worn down. I think they're tired. Munoz was sensational. He comes on and he loads the bases and then just is lights out. So that was a positive. But last night was just maybe kind of a look into who they are and who they really are. And they're a good baseball team and a team that if they get into the postseason, wow, they're going to be dangerous, because when you can go Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, 1, 2, 3 in your rotation, as I mentioned, that bullpen gets stronger with guys that aren't in that rotation. Your lineup becomes a little bit shorter. You're going to be a dangerous team. But trying to sustain and get through 162 games, I think they only have 2 days off in the month of September. Wow. You're starting to see these guys wear down a little bit.
You feel for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, Ian?
Oh man, you put me in a tough spot, Donnie. I'm just not a fan of his, but I don't want to see anybody get hurt like that, right? Mm-hmm. I think we all have guys like that, whether guys you've covered, dealt with, been around, what have you. You hate to see that happen. I'm not a fan of his. I thought he was fake during the HBO series. I thought it was a great acting job to try to kind of pump up your persona and get some more endorsements, but hate to see that. I think. I don't know if the league's better. I know there's a lot of New York, Toronto comparisons, right? Mm-hmm. You and I, the 3 of us, talk about that a lot. I don't know if the league is better if the Jets are good. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. But boy, the league wanted the Jets to be good, and they want them to be a contender so desperately bad. And they probably are 1 quarterback away, and that probably is not Zach Wilson. Their defense, you saw how good their defense. I mean, they made Josh Allen look foolish last night at times with 3 interceptions. Their offensive line is solid. They can run the football, but they need a quarterback, and I'm not sure if he can carry him there. And the question now with Rodgers, honestly, guys, is does he come back? I mean, an Achilles injury at the age of 40, I wonder if we've seen the last of Aaron Rodgers, but he's out for the year. It's probably from an NFL standpoint, it's bad, but if there's any league that can sustain losing a superstar, it's this league. They just don't care. You move on to the next team. So. Did
you have some personal dealings with Aaron Rodgers? Did
he
spurn you in an interview or something like that?
No. I've had plenty of that. We've had. I can't hold grudges for guys. I can't hold grudges for guys doing that. That list is long.
Yeah.
No, you know what? He shoved my photographer from Fox 13 a few years ago after a game, just absolutely, just brutally, just a chump move.
Really?
And the guy wasn't in his way. He was off to the side, and he was just mad about I think it was the Fail Mary game or whatever, and he was mad, and he just my buddy Chad, who's a great photog, and he just gave him a big old shove and kind of a blank you and all this stuff, and it's like, dude, you're just looking for he was just he was just looking for somebody to kind of take it out on. Yeah. And I just thought that's just a garbage move, man. I there's a lot of guys that are mad after football games that are a lot bigger and stronger than Aaron Rodgers, and nobody lashes out like that. And I saw that, and he's hugging on one of the guys that used to work for the NFL Network after he shoved him, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm not a fan, just not a fan. So
that's so similar to my Reggie Miller story.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything physical involved there, but I'll tell you about it one day, Ian. The people at home here have heard it a million times. They don't need me to repeat it. But
all your stories, I listen. All your stories that say you've heard it a million times. I haven't. I listen. I haven't heard stories a million times. I think you need to start maybe going back to the vault. I think you need to go back to the vault. I don't think you listen enough if you haven't heard these stories.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, when you guys take 6 months off a year, it's kind of hard to get into a regular listening habit. All right, like I got to I flip over to S&P, and listen to their stuff.
Stop it.
Who?
Yeah.
What?
Who?
Well, Rick, you're on with them. Like you're on with those guys.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, did I strike a nerve?
Not anymore.
Yeah. You know how I feel about Reggie Miller? I now feel that way about you after bringing that up.
I love you guys. Come on.
I know. All right, Ian, next Tuesday.
All right. See you, boys.